Hi, third graders, we're going to check our work for language arts, page 404, 405, adjectives that compare. So let's look at the rules box. You can use adjectives to compare two or more nouns. Remember, an adjective is a word that describes a noun. The two adjectives or the two suffixes that we're going to add to the end of adjectives today are going to be ER and EST. So you would add ER to the end of an adjective when you're comparing two nouns. That means that when you are comparing, you're showing how things are alike or different. Then you add EST if you're comparing more than two nouns. So let's look and see how that works here at the example. The merry-go-round is slower than the Ferris wheel. You can see that the word slower ends with ER because it's comparing just the merry-go-round to just the Ferris wheel, which shows that it's comparing two nouns only. The roller coaster is the fastest ride in the park. Notice how fastest ends with an EST. Fast is our adjective, but we're comparing it using EST because we're only comparing the roller coaster to all of the other rides in the park, which would mean we're comparing more than two nouns. So we added EST. So let's see how this works for our assignment. The directions for the guided practice say, name the correct adjective in parentheses. The bumper cars are rougher or roughest ride of all. So we're comparing bumper cars to all of the other rides. So that's why we have EST added to the end of the adjective rough. So the bumper cars are the roughest ride of all. Okay, let's see how you did on these. Is this the tall or tallest Ferris wheel of all? We're comparing Ferris wheel to all of the other rides. So we're using the adjective tallest, because that's the EST at the end, showing that we're comparing more than two nouns. Number 2, which ride in the park is the long or longest? We're comparing the ride to all of the other rides, so more than two, so longest is the correct adjective. Number 3, this line is shorter or shortest than that line. We're comparing this line to that line, so there's only two nouns, which means we're going to use the suffix er, and this is shorter. This line is shorter than that line. Number 4, that game is harder or hardest than this game. We're comparing that game to this game, so two nouns, meaning we're going to add ER to the end of the adjective, making it harder. That game is harder than this game. Number 5, Ted's prize is the greater or greatest of all. Well, we're comparing his prize to all of the other prizes, which means more than two, so we're going to use EST, and the correct adjective is greatest. Ted's prize is the greatest of all. The pond in the park is bigger or biggest than the one in the zoo. We're comparing the pond in the park to the pond in the zoo, so that's just two. So we're using the ER to make the adjective bigger. The pond in the park is bigger than the one in the zoo. Number 7, circus lights are the brighter or brightest lights of all. Well, we're comparing circus lights to all of the other lights that we have. So that means more than two nouns are being compared, which means we're going to use EST to show the word brightest. Circus lights are the brightest lights of all. Number 8, our car was faster or fastest than the train. So we're talking about our car and the train. That's just two nouns. So we're going to circle the suffix, or we're going to circle the adjective that ends with the suffix ER because we're just comparing two. Our car was faster than the train. Number 9, I saw a bird smaller or smallest than a robin. So we're comparing a certain type of bird to a robin bird. So there's just two nouns, meaning that we're going to use the adjective that ends with the ER, which is smaller. I saw a bird smaller than a robin. Number 10, did you skate on the wider or widest lane of all? So they're asking about the lane. what kind or which lanes? Well, of all of the lanes. So more than 2. So we're going to use the adjective that ends with est. Did you skate on the widest lane of all? Okay, let's look at page 405. Let's review the rules again. You're adding er to an adjective when you're comparing just 2 nouns. But you add est to the adjective when you compare more than 2 nouns. So the directions say, write the sentence, use the correct adjective form. Number 11, the boat is quiet than the train ride. So since we're talking about just the boat and the train ride, we're going to use er for quieter. Number 12, the fun house is dark than a cave. We're comparing a fun house to a cave, so that's just 2. So we're going to add er to dark to make it darker. Number 13, we heard the loud screams that day. They're talking about screams out of all of the screams. So we're going to add est to loud to make the adjective loudest. 14, in the house of mirrors, I looked tall than Mom. So we're comparing how tall I looked to how tall Mom looked. So just 2 nouns. So we're adding er to the word tall, to the adjective tall, to make it taller. In the house of mirrors, I looked taller than Mom. 15. The water slide is the cool ride I know. So comparing water slide to all of the other rides, that means we're going to add est to the adjective cool, and we're going to have coolest. The water slide is the coolest ride I know. 16. The log ride is the new ride in the park. So we are comparing the log ride to all of the other rides. So we're going to add est, newest. The log ride is the newest ride in the park. 17. Some rides are wild than others. We're comparing some rides to other rides. Some rides to other rides. So just comparing 2. So we're going to add er, and we're going to have some rides are wilder than others. 18. Nick won a prize as the strong boy of all. We're comparing Nick to all of the other boys. So that means we're going to add est to the end of strong for strongest. Nick won a prize as the strongest boy of all. 19. The park lights are bright than stars. We're comparing park lights to stars, so there's just 2. So we're going to add an er to the end of that adjective to make it brighter. The park lights are brighter than stars. And the last one. The merry-go-round is the old ride in the park. So we're comparing merry-go-round to all of the other rides in the park, which means more than 2. So we're going to add est to the adjective old, and we have oldest. The merry-go-round is the oldest ride in the park. Okay, boys and girls, make sure your name, date, and page numbers are at the top of your paper. Put it in your red folder, and I will collect it during our next folder exchange. Good job checking your work, and we'll see you next time.